welcome. We welcome you here to First Congregational Church of Houston. For those of you who are here live, I don't know why I add the word live. Those of you that are here, welcome to you. Those of you who are watching us remotely, a special welcome to you also. For those of you, again, who are watching remotely, today we are celebrating communion. And if you would like to participate in that, you can do that remotely. So now would be the time for you, if you have wine or a piece of bread, grape juice, bread, or if you don't, choose anything that makes you comfortable. And later on in the service, you can join and participate with us in communion. The other thing to bring to your attention is after church, we have some options for you to consider. One of those options, which we find after a survey that was never done, that the majority of people do not prefer the first option, which is to immediately after service go home. Instead, through that survey that was never taken, we found out that individuals would much rather prefer to either go and become a part of coffee hour. It's an opportunity to get to know one another, to socialize. And the other option is for those of you who would like something that would kind of stimulate your mind, stimulate your thinking. We have a class called Ruminate. And today we are looking at the argument from incredulity, meaning the idea of if something I believe cannot be true, it must not be true. So it's almost an argument from disbelief. And so that we will be discussing and its implications with how we understand and see God. If this is your first time here or first time viewing, you have stumbled upon or have intentionally chosen a church that celebrates diversity. A church where every single voice is valued. A church where we try to create a safe and supportive space. Why? Because we want you to be yourself, to be authentically who you are. And when you are able to be truly yourself, it provides you the opportunity to connect with others in a very authentic way. And I believe that the people that you will connect with, you will find that they hold many of the same values that you do. The value of respect, the value of understanding, and the value of acceptance. And our time together, that is what we emphasize. That all belong. All are a part of this community. With that in mind, I invite you to stand as we sing together our opening hymn. Please join with me in our opening prayer. Loving God, we realize worship does not cease after Sunday. Worship is also to stand in awe under a heaven of stars, before a flower, a leaf in sunlight, or a grain of sand. Worship is to sing with the same beauty of the earth, to pause, to be silent, and meditate. You may be seated. And now we will have a special presentation, a mission trip moment.
Good morning. So we're not going to have a children's message this morning, but after we are done up here, then the kids will follow me out. The youth will return to the seats. So greetings. My name is Kelly Stevens, and I'm the interim CE coordinator, Christian Education, for those of you who don't know CE. I work with all our younger children. It was a new term to me when I came to this church, so there may possibly be people out there. I work with all our children in addition to our middle school and high school youth. This summer, 4 of our youth will be embarking on a mission trip, but more than that, a service learning trip. I will be chaperoning them along with Vicki Scheimer, your Director of Membership and Admin. I've asked the youth to introduce themselves, including a few fun facts, and to describe the trip. But I will start with our one youth who will be attending the trip but was not able to attend today. And her name is Emma Davis, and she's in 6th grade. She lives in Pearland with her parents and 2 sisters. She has beautiful, naturally curly hair and has a heart for animals. Julie?
My name is Julie Gleason, and I'm a senior at Westside High School. My favorite food is mac and cheese. For this mission trip, I'm excited to learn things about the environment, especially as someone who wants to minor in environmental science. I'm also excited because I've never been to Colorado and can't wait to see all its beautiful features like the mountains.
Hi, my name is Lily. I also like mac and cheese, but really, I just like cheese. Favorite varieties of cheese are as follows. Cheddar, the sharper the better, okay. Parmesan, the better, great. Provolone, but pepper jack, but Colby jack. Oh, thank you, that's the worst. With this trip, I'm looking forward to contributing to an issue I care about and doing something new in the process.
Hello. Hi, I am Valerie Stevens. I'm in 6th grade. My age, get this, is a square root of 144. I read, fun fact, just like, I read the entire Harry Potter series in the span of 1 month. I am so excited to see the mountains of Colorado, as well as breathe the fresh air and see native wildlife. Colorado seems like an ideal place to learn how to take care of the environment, so I'm really looking forward to this service learning trip. Speaking of which, as you may have gathered from this point, we will be heading to Denver, Colorado for this trip. We will learn how our faith calls us to be better caretakers of creation and to be leaders of eco-justice in our own local community. We will work with many nonprofit organizations over the course of the week, exploring educational topics related to the environment, climate, and human impact. To help offset the cost of this trip, we are asking you to participate in the Wish Board fundraiser in the assembly room. Your donations are investments in the future of the earth, the future of this church, and yes, the future of us, your FCCU. Thanks.
Though not a very long time, it's been long enough to let us know that this congregation is truly our cherished faith community. And it's been long enough to embolden me to do something a little out of the norm today. Rather than tell you about myself and my devotion to FCC, I've chosen to read a short excerpt from the book The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. Most of you will know this book and the author. Those of you who don't might want to Google him. Now, to set the scene, the prophet is about to leave the place of his decade-long exile. His ship is coming to take him back to his birthplace. And the people are clamoring around him, asking him things, trying to get one more bit of advice before he departs. And as a procedural matter for this morning, the hymn for the collection is hymn number 400, and it's not printed in your bulletin. It was left out intentionally so that I might be able to announce it. So we're asked to please remain seated. We're tempted to jump up and stand while we sing, but please remain seated during the offertorial hymn. And now for the chapter on giving by Khalil Gibran. Then said a rich man, "Speak to us of giving." And he answered, "You give but little when you give of your possessions. It is when you give of yourself that you truly give. For what are possessions but things you keep and guard for fear you may need them tomorrow? And tomorrow, what shall tomorrow bring to the overprudent dog, burying bones in the trackless sands, as he follows the pilgrims to the holy city? And what is fear of need but need itself? Is not the dread of thirst when your well is full, the thirst that is unquenchable? There are those who give little of that which they have, and they give it for recognition. And their hidden desire, makes their gifts unwholesome. And there are those who have little and give it all. These are the believers in life and the bounty of life, and their coffer is never empty. There are those who give with joy, and that joy is their reward. And there are those who give with pain, and that pain is the baptism. And there are those who give and know not pain in giving, nor do they seek joy, nor they give with mindfulness Go and show yourself to the priest. Offer the sacrifices that Moses commanded. It will be a witness to the priest and the people that you are clean. But the man went out and started talking right away. He spread the news to everyone. So Jesus could no longer enter a town openly. He stayed outside in lonely places. But people still came to him from everywhere. This ends our reading.
2.5 months ago, I got evicted. I didn't get evicted from my home. It was worse than that. I got evicted from my comfort zone. That comfort zone where you feel familiar, where you feel like you belong, where there's a sense of comfort that comes from being in that zone. So 2.5 months ago, I got evicted from that. It meant that I had to leave everything that I was familiar with. Everything that gave me a sense of comfort, a sense of belonging. And with that came new possibilities. But at that time, I was so inundated with the pain of leaving that comfort zone that it was hard to remain focused on what lied ahead. It meant living in a new state, a state that never, ever crossed my mind that I would live in. It meant living in a city, a large city, which I was familiar with being from Phoenix. But it was a city that I didn't know where it was in Texas. It meant coming to a new job. And it meant, for the first time, pastoring as a single person. It forced me out of my comfort zone. And that was really unsettling for me. And I would imagine that each and every one of you here or listening remotely, you know what I'm talking about. You've had those experiences in your life where you have been evicted from your comfort zone. Major transitions, the loss of a job, retirement from a job, the breakup of a relationship, the starting of a new relationship, having a child, having a grandchild. All of these different events force us either permanently or temporarily outside of our comfort zones. And that, my friends, takes a great deal of courage. Because it is so much easier to stay in our comfort zones, where it feels familiar, where we have a sense of peace, a sense of being at ease. Why rock the boat? Why intentionally put yourself in a place where it's going to make you feel uncomfortable? Where you will feel uneasy, where you feel like your life is out of equilibrium, where your life is out of harmony. And the goal ultimately is to try to restore that and to try to find the patience until we can restore it. But to be able to do this, to be able to move in and out of our comfort zone, to be able to perhaps even leave one comfort zone and create another. It takes a great deal of courage. It takes courage to be able to look at your fears. It takes courage to find in yourself that fortitude to continue on when you feel discomfort. And the last thing you want to do is continue on. You would much rather not do that, but go back to the familiar. I know what I'm talking about, folks. And so it takes courage. And what I find amazing about the story that Michael read for us is that in this story, the two main characters demonstrate such courage. Courage to be able to move out of their comfort zone. The first one is an unnamed individual, more than likely a man. The writer of the Gospel of Mark chose not to include a name, perhaps to allow each of and every one of us and the listeners back in the first century to put their own name, to identify with this individual. This individual has a skin malady, some kind of a skin defect. In the Bible, that term that was used to capture all of that was a leper. That's all he is. And it's so easy to gloss over that he is a leper. That's it. But when we pause and understand what it means to be a leper, what it means to have some type of skin deformity in the first century, it is startling. In my mind, I allow my imagination to begin to roll forward. I imagine that this man, probably not overly wealthy, middle, lower class, had a job, lived literally from day to day. But in my mind, I think he was happy. More than likely, he was married, had children. And then one morning, as he was getting dressed, he looked down at his arm and he saw a spot there. Looked like a rash. He didn't pay a lot of attention to it, figured it would go away in just a matter of time. And then I imagine the next morning he wakes up and the rash has gotten a little bit bigger. It hasn't gone away, it's grown. Imagine the next day he wakes up and now there's 2 spots, 2 rashes. And over a period of time, that begins to multiply and spread across his body. He had done everything he could to hide that reality because he understood what would happen if the wrong people found out that he had this skin malady. He understood what would happen if the religious leaders became aware of what was happening. I imagine that he had heard growing up about the Levitical law that talked about such maladies. In Leviticus chapter 13, it says, "The person who has the leprous disease shall wear torn clothes." You get a whole brand new wardrobe. "And let their hair of his head be disheveled." That would have been a problem for some people, but not me. "And he shall cover his upper lip and cry out, 'Unclean, unclean.' He shall remain unclean as long as he has the disease. He is unclean. He shall live alone. His dwelling shall be outside the camp." So in my mind, I imagine that a time eventually came where he could no longer hide the spots and the growths over his body. And he was summoned by the priest. And they looked at him and said, "You are leprous. Out, gone." Which means you have to leave your family, your wife, your children. You have to leave your job. You have to quarantine in a way that we can't even begin to experience even after COVID-19. To be completely alone, no medical care, very little hope. I imagine how devastating that felt for him. A man who literally was ripped away from his comfort zone. We're not told how long this lasted. It could have been weeks, could have been months before this story where Jesus and the leper crossed paths. We don't know how long. So in my mind, I allow myself again to imagine that what ended up happening was that this man, over a period of time, had created his new comfort zone. I don't know how you ever become comfortable living like that. But I imagine he did the best that he could. And then one day he heard of this teacher who was also a healer by the name of Jesus. And he has to weigh in his mind the pros and cons, the risk and the rewards of going to see Jesus. What that would mean. The risk was Jesus would reject him. Jesus would not even acknowledge him. Jesus, perhaps his followers, would have shooed him away. And yet, on the other side, if Jesus was who he said he was, wow. There was hope again. Hope that he could go home. He could be reunited with his family, his wife, his children, his friends. He would be whole again. He would be part of a community again. And so he weighed these pros and cons, and he chose to take the risk. He found the courage to leave that comfort zone he had created to go try something new. The second character in this story is Jesus. And I imagine when Jesus is there and this leper shows up, that Jesus immediately understands the repercussions of this leper in his presence. First of all, the leper never shouts out, "Unclean, unclean." That's a no-no. And I imagine again that Jesus, in his mind, weighed the pros and cons, the risk and the rewards of stepping out of his comfort zone to actually confront this man. The rewards, Jesus understood. It meant a brand new life for this man, a brand new life, restored. But Jesus also understood the risks. This story is at the very beginning of Mark, and so the writer wants us to realize that this is the beginning of Jesus' ministry. His success is being laid. The foundation right now is being established upon which Jesus will build. How do you build a foundation? How do you have success if immediately the religious leaders are against you? If they're speaking ill about you? If Jesus had healed in his normal way of just speaking the words, that would have been safer than what Jesus actually did. Again, the gospel writers are very, very careful in the words that they choose. And the writer of the Gospel of Mark, he places 3 verbs that immediately follow each other. And if you were able to look at the original language, you would see these verbs literally back to back. And it says that Jesus stretched out his hand. And immediately, if you were a listener of this gospel back in the first century, the first thing that you would have come to your mind when you hear that Jesus stretched out his hand, you would have thought, oh no, don't go there. But he stretches out his hand, and he touched him. he touched him. Jesus took his risk level to a whole new dimension. And Mark tells us that at that very moment, a swap took place. By touching him, Jesus cleansed him. And by touching him, Jesus became unclean. They switched positions. The story goes on and tells us that this man who is now cleansed, who is now healed, he goes out. He is no longer confined. And then the text tells us that where this man used to dwell, Jesus now has to dwell. Why? Number one, because of the crowds. But number two, Jesus is now unclean. He's the one that has to stay away. He's the one that has to be isolated. Jesus and this leper literally swap places. Simply because he reached out and touched him. Talk about a willingness to step out of your comfort zone. There's two possibilities that describe the motive for what Jesus did. One is in the text that Michael read, it captures it. You're not going to find it in the majority of translations, is that Jesus became angry. And the reason why we don't see that in the majority of our translations is because the scribes back in the first century, as they were copying the text, probably were really uncomfortable with Jesus getting angry about this. So there's a good possibility that they chose to take that word out and put in another word, and that word was a sense of comfort, compassion. That Jesus felt compassion for this man. And that is the motive Jesus has for stepping outside of his comfort zone. So as we hear this story, it is now time for us to pause and ask ourselves the question: have you found the courage to move beyond your comfort zone? Have you found the courage to step out of that area in your life where you feel the most at peace? It could be a set of beliefs that help you understand the world, that help you understand God, that help you understand humanity. Whatever that is, have you found the courage to step outside when the opportunity avails itself? Well, the question I would ask is why? What happened to me 2.5 months ago, it wasn't by completely my choice. It was imposed upon me. Yes, part of it was my own choice, but there was also a part of it that was just, this is going to be your new reality, Tony. And that meant accepting and taking the risk of stepping out. But why? Why should we leave our comfort zone? If I'm happy with where I'm at in life, if I'm happy with what life has given me, I'm at peace with that, why should I intentionally step outside of my comfort zone and find all this discomfort? Why? Because when we are willing to step out of our comfort zone, no matter what the reason or how we do it, when we're willing to do that, something miraculous happens. It's the same thing that happened to our two characters in this story. It was transformative because they grew. And growth is essential to who we are. I have a new app on my iPad that I began playing with. It's called ChatGPT. So out of curiosity, I asked it, why is it important to continue to grow? As we progress through life, why is it important that we continue to grow? Why is it important that we're willing to step out of our comfort zone so that we will grow? Why? And ChatGPT gave me this answer. Growth opens doors to new opportunities. It enriches relationships. It promotes a deeper understanding of oneself and the world. It's a lifelong journey that brings with it fulfillment and contributes to our overall well-being. Growth. Living to your potential, to become the person that you were ordained to be. What happened 2.5 months ago as far as relocating was not the first time. I've lived all across the United States, which means I've traveled many times in a Ryder truck. One of the most irritating, frustrating things about driving a Ryder truck is they put the thing on there called a governor. And it regulates how fast I can go. There are times when I was going down a hill and I saw on the other side that it was going up again, and so I would want to speed up so I would have enough momentum to move up and to take that next hill. So I would push on the accelerator, and it didn't matter how hard I pushed on the accelerator, it would only go so fast. I understood that that engine was not even close to running to its full potential. Unfortunately, when we become stagnant, when we remain in our comfort zones, when opportunities of growth surround us and we choose to remain there, we're missing out. We're missing out on becoming who we were created and ordained to be. It's like you're living your life with a governor on it. And that, my friends, is not a way to live. So I would encourage you to find the courage by having faith. First and foremost, to have faith in yourself, to have faith in the people that are around you, your support system, that they will be there for you no matter how hard it is and how discomforting it is. And faith in God. Now, it's really easy for me to say that, right? Faith in oneself, faith with others, and faith in God. But the last one, sometimes I get hung up on. What does it mean to have faith in God? And an idea popped in my mind this week that maybe, just maybe, to have faith in God means to have faith in oneself. Maybe faith in God is manifested when we have faith in ourselves. And if that is the case, when we believe in ourselves and we're willing to take the risk of trying something new, to stepping out of that zone, maybe we are demonstrating a faith in our God. Last night, a friend of mine back in Arizona went to a self-defense course. I had teased her all week about her going to this self-defense course. And the reason being was quite a few years ago, she had suffered a medical setback. which left her with her balance not being perfect, which meant that she had to be very careful how she stepped, otherwise she could fall. So I was teasing her, how in the world are you going to go to a self-defense course and not fall over? She was also currently suffering an issue with her sight. So I asked her, how are you going to practice self-defense when you can't even see what's coming at you? And yet, she was willing to step outside of her comfort zone to try something she really wanted to do. So this morning I ask you, where are you in your life journey? If you have grown stagnant, if you are feeling safe and secure in your comfort zone, and you are turning away opportunities to grow and to flourish, to find a new sense of fullness of who you are, my prayer for you this morning is that you will find the courage to take that first step out of that zone. If right now you are in the midst of discomfort, if you also have been evicted in some way from that comfort zone in your life, I pray for you, just like I pray for myself, that we will find the fortitude and the courage and the faith to not stop. And if you are one who is experiencing the growth of your comfort zone, it's no longer this, but your comfort zone has expanded to this. If you are one of those who are willing to continually try to enhance the quality of your life by trying new things, by taking chances, my prayer for you is that you will have the courage to continue to do that. Life is an amazing gift, my friends. And we only get to go around once. So my prayer is that each and every one of us will learn from our two characters, the leper and Jesus, and step out and to live our life to its fullness. Amen.
Let us come to the
In the Hebrew and Christian scriptures, there are a wide variety of names and images that are used to describe God. So today we have gathered in this meeting house around this table to celebrate that which is beyond any of those names and images. That which is always more than we can think or put into words. That's why many of Jesus' followers, when they reflected on his life, believed that in Jesus they saw a manifestation of who God was. A manifestation that could not be captured just in words, but it was seen in the life of a person. So again, that is why we are here at this table, to celebrate that life of Jesus. And one of the things that Jesus did that has become a custom within the Christian church is he met with his disciples one evening. It ended up possibly being his last meal. And while he was with them, he took the bread that was on the table. And he blessed the bread, and he broke it, and he offered it to his followers, his friends, and encouraged them to eat that they might experience life to its fullness. And then after the bread had been broken, he took the wine and he blessed it, and then he poured it out so that each person would be satisfied. Their deepest thirst beyond just the physical, that deepest thirst within themselves would be quenched. And then he offered them the drink, and he asked them, please take, drink. And that is why we are here today around this table, is to remember not only his actions, but to remember and experience the impact that it can have on our lives. At First Congregational Church, we practice what is called an open table or open communion. That means no matter who you are, race, ethnicity, gender, how you identify, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you're a member or not a member here. To the degree that you are comfortable, you are invited to come and partake of these, to partake of the bread and the wine. And through that, experience God in a unique way. You are invited to come forward. If you are not able to come forward, you can remain seated, and our deacons will wait upon you after they serve the remainder of those who come forward. So again, to the degree that you are comfortable, we invite you to come forward and receive the bread and the wine. Join with me as we repeat together the Lord's Prayer. Our Creator, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation. Within First Congregational Church is to remind ourselves who we are and what we're about. And one of the ways that we do that is by saying together at the end of our service our mission statement. It's a way, again, of reminding us what we're about, what we stand for. So to the degree you are comfortable, please join with me in the reading of our mission statement. Welcome all into an inclusive community. Seek to follow Jesus' teachings. Search for more truth and light. Support one another on our faith journey. Strive for peace and justice. And now I invite you to hear these words of blessing. May the blessings of life be upon us and upon this congregation. May the memories we gather here give us hope for the future. May the love that we share bring strength and joy to our hearts, and the peace of this community be with us until we meet again. Amen.